That's what we want to be known for on this channel, baby. All right. Welcome back to the Forging Theories live stream, everyone, where we talk about all things related to heroes and villains. Tonight, we're going to be staying in the MCU and talking about Kang. Yes, that same Kang that has been getting mixed reviews, but don't worry, because we're going to talk about all of the 6 main and interesting variants of Nathaniel Richards, played by the Mr. Jonathan Majors. So stick around if you're watching live. If you're watching the post-recording, let us know down in the comments below what you thought of Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and if he is deserving of being the multiverse saga big bad. But now, let me introduce Mr. Hero Scroll and Mr. Brando's Funkos. Gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just a good old snowy Monday in my area.
Ooh.
Doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be back. Just a chill Monday, honestly.
That's
a chill
good.
Monday. We're talking about Kang, Nathaniel Richards, the variants. We have big things lined up. We're going all the way from the beginning of He Who Remains to what is next for Kang and Loki with that spoiler. Spoiler. At this point, I feel like it's like free game. You know? We still give spoiler warnings.
I think it's probably everybody here knows, right?
Dude,
I would like to think.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Well, if you're watching this in the future, whether it's the 31st century or the 22nd or 21st, whatever it might be, hopefully you've seen the movie by now. But we're going to try and craft some theories around what is next for Kang in Loki, which was our second post-credit scene. But we're going to jump into it over the next 40-ish minutes or so. We're going to be talking about the future. And really, I think that's what it comes down to. A lot of this. We have a character from the future. A lot of people are uncertain of what the future is going to be in the MCU. And I think some of that played into the mixed reviews with Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But let's take a step back. You guys, when you watched Loki, did you guys watch Loki as soon as it came out on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it weekly.
Weekly watching. Okay. Same here. What were your first thoughts when you saw Jonathan Majors on screen in that Loki finale?
I was happy. I was very excited just because it was something that was heavily rumored for months at that point, and coming off of WandaVision where certain things let people down. Ralph Bonner, whatever his name is, looking at you. But you know, it was very cool to see them deliver on something like that, and him live up to that. I think.
Yeah, I was excited. I didn't know much about Jonathan Majors before he took the role up, and it was nice to see all of there's some predictions come true on, like he said, the WandaVision one, and how Mephisto was going to be in it every freaking episode. So this one, Loki, was actually nice to see it come to play and then get the first glimpse at He Who Remains in the MCU, Kang variants, and a nice introduction to him. And I loved Major's performance in there. I freaking played a little crazy, serious character in my eyes, and I think he killed it.
Hey, big shout out to Jonathan Majors for going to school at the University of North Carolina School of Arts.
All right.
Shout out. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that.
No,
I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, found that out recently, and then I drama grad at Yale, I believe.
Wow.
So yeah, doing huge things. But again, at the same time, and it's funny coming that you say I did not plan on talking about the state of Phase 4, kicking off with WandaVision, and then those expectations again mixed. This is what people expected for the beginning of the phase. Then you enter Loki, and then we get a surprise, a non-action sequence finale to a series, and it is heralded to this day as one of the best finales. Lacking all that action, but we got the explanation, the lore, the build to this character, and wow, like something crazy is coming. But one of the cool things that I do want to touch on is one of the quotes that he said when he was talking to Lofi and Sylvie, and it was on him defeating his variants, saying once he isolated our timeline, all I had to do was manage the flow of time and prevent any further branches, hence the TVA, hence the timekeepers and highly effective, highly efficient bureaucracy, hence ages and ages of cosmic harmony. So we come out and know that he's really the one who stopped all of his other variants. Now flash forward to post-credit scenes, and we're seeing just how many variants are there and that are a part of the Council of Kangs. It's interesting what used to defeat them. So take yourself step back again. How did you guys feel about, and I always butcher this name, so forgive me, Alioth? The big purple cloud monster storm that, right? And a lot of people forget about that because it was the entity that served as the guardian of the void. It was created during the multiversal war, where Nathaniel Richards harnessed and experimented on its power, similar to MODOK and how Kang did to him, becoming its master. Under the moniker of He Who Remains, again, Nathaniel Richard, he weaponized Alioth and used him to end the war with the variants, then served as a gatekeeper at the Citadel at the end of time and consumed the majority of the individuals that the TVA had sent to the void. So knowing that is something that, if we believe what He Who Remains says, that was something that he used to end the multiversal war. Is this, like, seeing Kang and hearing that now, how does that sit with you guys?
Hey, asking the heavy questions.
We're coming right off the bat, man.
I like it.
Right off the bat.
I don't really know. I don't know, like, it's kind of crazy to think that one Kang stops an army and, like, dynasty of Kangs. So to me, it feels like that thing must have been way more powerful at one point than just having Loki and Sylvie kind of outsmart it.
For sure.
And meanwhile, I get two people versus 1 million Kangs or so. I don't know. It's just, it's kind of all I got for that one. I'm not gonna
does
lie.
it feel?
I don't know where
does
I was
it?
Going.
Does it feel flat to you? Like as it ages, now seeing Kang and seeing the post-credit scenes, knowing that based on what He Who Remains said, that purple cloud monster, that storm was what ended the war.
Yeah, I think it feels a little flat. I don't know.
I feel like the more, if you just take it at face value, it absolutely does. But if you ask me, He Who Remains was very much an unreliable narrator on everything. At least to me, I see him saying his truth in his warped mind, and clearly that He Who Remains is not all there all the way, right? And I think everybody can almost agree on that. So I think later on we're going to get some sort of reveal as to how he was able to do what he did, you know. You can't just, it feels weird, it feels odd that 3 of the most important or most powerful Kangs, right, and I know we're going to talk about that a little later, would just let He Who Remains sit there with a whole timeline to himself.
For sure.
So that, I don't know, I feel like there's more to that, and they're either waiting on Loki to reveal more or somewhere else down the line.
I always think about that, like going back and seeing like his powers, right? Master tactician, scientist, engineer, someone who's able to master the storm cloud, but then saying that he created the TVA to govern and protect the timeline from being overrun by his surviving variants. Yeah. And he created the timekeepers to mask his identity as the TVA's creator. Obviously also creating Miss Minutes and stuff too, but it's just, it does. I kind of go back to Thanos, right? In all those conversations of like, do you believe Thanos? Was Thanos right? Thanos was right in the bathroom on the wall kind of thing after the blip. Like, do you believe Thanos? And saying, if you continue to let beings exist, they're going to destroy everything, right? And then you go to Ultron. Do you believe Ultron is that? You got to think that there is some level here, and I'm with you, that he's truthfully living in his own world outside of a world.
Yeah.
That. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the years and years of isolation that he had, because who knows how long he was there, right? We think about it in the sense of, oh well, MCU has been around 10 years. Well, and obviously it's not in real life, but who knows how long that guy's been there, so his perspective could be completely wrong.
And
especially from him knowing how everything ends in the little loop of the timeline he made. Definitely could have gone crazy reliving certain things, and just being alone at the end of time obviously doesn't help.
But I take that parallel and think of how long Kang was alone and what that did to him, and how he was in the quantum realm after Janet. There are a decent amount of parallels in terms of exactly what we had said, where he took something, Darren made him MODOK and made him his killing machine. He was alone without, I don't want to say without an end, but I mean, you got to figure without them pulling Cassie and crew back in, that kind of just happened, I guess, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's interesting. You have some guy who, in He Who Remains, who tried to protect the timeline, and then you have Kang the Conqueror, who sought to conquer as many worlds as possible. So he started a multiversal war, became Kang the Conqueror. It's what was necessary. When you saw him initially in the movie, did you get that sense of like, this is the big bad of phase 5 and 6 and the multiverse saga, and like, this is the guy?
At first, a little bit, at least, because they built up the mystique around him, especially where Janet is talking about him, what she saw. You get glimpses, but then I think as the movie goes on, there's certain choices, at least for me, that make him feel really dumb.
Okay.
And one of the most egregious to me is Scott just didn't care about Kang, right? I don't think he really cared about. I don't know if he believed him that he was this time traveling, lord. He just wanted Cassie back, and when he gives him the orb and he's like, "Hey, I want Cassie," he's just like, "No, bye. You don't need her. She'll be better off without you." It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Other than if you explain, oh well, he's the villain.
Sure.
Then that, to me, that cheapens it a little bit,
That's fair.
And other things as well were just, how easily he was defeated, and I think that rubs people a lot of the wrong way as well.
Yeah, but just to that point, you gotta remember he was limited down there, obviously. I didn't really see him, just knowing about him from the comics and pretty much Marvel saying he's the next big bad, that I didn't really get a huge sense of it from his actions in the movie, besides when he started just going crazy with the lasers at the end. And I was like, damn, imagine this guy with full tech and full time traveling capabilities. He'd be just murdering people left and right. But the ending to me with him losing was a little anticlimactic, as like, is he really the big bad? But I think the post-credit scenes helped a little bit, just because obviously we got to see how many of them there are and different versions of them between the big three and everything.
I mean, from what we saw, right? If you go through his power set, and I know a lot of people are like, powers aren't everything, blah 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 blah. But like to be a big bad, especially in comparison to any Avengers level, like your Loki, your Ultron, your Thanos, both versions, you gotta have a lot. I put it this way, like for me, gore is kind of that threshold. Like Thor's villains in his movies, Hela, Gore. I feel like those are like kind of the benchmarks. Like if you're above them, you're probably a big bad. If you're below them, you're probably a solo film kind of villain in terms of power level and like what destructive capabilities you have. But for Kang with his armor, I mean, he's a regular human, right? For a lot of people, for some reason, don't know that this version, like he is a human being. Like he's not the scroll version. He's not an alien. He's not, unless something changes. As it stands, he's just a regular guy, which you saw at the end when him and Scott were fighting for who can get to the portal or stop the person getting into the portal. Although he had that Creed 3 power up, which I don't know. Is that like?
He really
is that above human? Is that still superhuman strength and capabilities?
I would say up to a point, man, because the beatings they take in the Rocky and Creed movies, man.
Huge beatings.
I still my dream match is still Kang versus Cap. I just want to see it.
That would be awesome.
I just want to see it. But
Secret Wars.
Oh, we'll get to that. But you got to figure with his suit and his armor capabilities, he's going to have superhuman strength, durability. This guy has energy projection, telekinesis, which for a second I was like, well, what is that? Where he's basically waving his hand and he can move, rotate, and crush whatever it's targeted. Like he has that ability. He did that too. You saw that in Cassie and Scott when they were imprisoned. Force field generation, which that's a huge controversy and a huge talking point. Should MODOK have been able to get through it? Did the ants have a chance? Should those two have even been considered in destroying his armor and tech and getting through? Curious on your guys' thoughts.
I feel like MODOK makes sense because Kang was the one that gave MODOK his the soup tech, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like that kind of makes sense just for him to be able to also break through his tech, but also why would you make something like that could break your own tech? Like, I feel like Tony Stark would never. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie.
Ultron.
Right there, but I don't know. It seems more of a design flaw.
Sure.
To say,
But is that not a part of his ego and how pompous he feels that he is, and the type of guy where he, what's the line where I think it's when Scott picks him up and crushes him against the wall, and he's like, "I'm Kang, like you talk to ants."
Yeah.
You're nothing to me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is worth it.
Yeah, I think it's more because of our expectations. I think it feels like it's cheapened when it's not, and I include myself on that too, because I think, and the more we talk about it, the more I realize it probably didn't help. We had such high expectations of, oh, what is he gonna do? How bad is he gonna mess everybody up? And then he doesn't. So it could be worse. It could be worse. I mean, I don't know if you've the comic shop that I frequent, they had a movie night and they handed out the reprint of his first appearance. Do you guys know how he loses that first time?
No,
I don't think so.
No. He has the Avengers captured in his ship. And Rick, what's his name? Rick Jones, I think. And the Teenage Brigade basically go, "Hey Kang, we want to join you." And he's like, "Cool, go get this thing from my ship. You better hurry up." And then they just free the Avengers. And then they beat him. And that's how he loses the first time. So it could be worse, I guess.
Yeah, he could have gotten the MODOK treatment also. That could have been worse.
real quick, did you guys like? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, I lost my headset for whatever reason. Did you like or dislike MODOK?
I'm indifferent. I don't
I
know.
I liked him. I'm glad they did him that way because I can't take MODOK seriously. I don't think anybody can.
Not
I
as
feel like they made it fit in the story and kind of gave a nice closed circle from Ant-Man 1. Um, I don't know much about MODOK character from the comics, but every clip I've seen from him, I feel like I can never take him seriously. So it's kind of nice to see him as like a different take as a comedic person and just to close off a storyline. 'Cause, you know, Marvel kind of iffy on closing off certain loopholes recently. Or not loopholes, but stories.
Yeah.
I think they overdid it a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of liked him. I thought he was funny when he talked sometimes. I didn't really like his ending of just like, oh, I don't know what to be. Don't be a dick. Okay, I'm not a dick anymore. I thought that was kind of cheesy, but
Is it
I don't know.
with that? I've had to do a lot of justification and pull a lot of things out of this movie to like separate them from like for me that I interpret that as redemption, right? Okay,
Yeah.
no villain is too far from being redeemed. Cassie is a natural hero, like those things that like they could build upon, right? And you threw in the whole like great power, great responsibility. Like she's like, if you know you're an Avenger, you should be helping people. Like you have the suit, but
Mhm.
instead you're on a book tour. Like what are you doing? Like I'm doing this, and I'm not qualified. And you are, and you're just Scott. Like, but that's him. That's him though. And well, I might as well just talk about it now. Like, do you think that Kang was the wrong villain to have in this movie? Like, was this the wrong place to put him in? For example, some of my buddies and I we've been talking about he should have been main villain of Fantastic Four, or is he somewhere else? This just probably wasn't the right call.
Maybe the wrong Kang variant.
Ooh. Okay.
Because I do think Kang works, right? And when he works, he works. When he's being menacing and he's, you know, and I think everybody agrees, Jonathan Majors takes every scene that he's in. So I think Kang works. I just don't think Kang the Conqueror. Because when we think Kang the Conqueror, we think the baddest Kang.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like putting. This is probably a really dumb, way to put it, but it would be like putting Infinity War Thanos in Ant-Man 1 or 2, and then having the Endgame Thanos be the one from What If. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It just feels like the wrong one to me.
I think it's as much as we'd like to still make sense for him to be like introduced in Fantastic Four, given his whole backstory as a Richard descendant. I think it was smart for them to kind of tease him early like this, not too far after Loki, and then earlier than Loki season 2. But I do agree they did use like the wrong variant. But I still liked it. I kind of made it make sense if the theory comes true of him being the Beyonder in the little going into the void in that box at the end. But I feel like they could have used any Kang variant for that, to be honest.
It's tough. It's tough because this very well could be one of those scenarios where it doesn't taste good, but you have to let it sit for a few years. And then when you get the payoff, however, this is completely side note related. given the current state of being a Marvel fan and just this bubble that we're all in right now, just and the expectations that come with like, okay, am I going to see a movie and there's going to be people that aren't happy? Am I going to see a movie and have to defend it because I like it? Am I going to see a movie and just be so turned off because the last 2 years I've gone through crazy normal world scenario and now my escape is still letting me down every turn? And what I am getting that I like is tolerable, but it's not really satisfying that gap that the Infinity Saga or whatever. I'm not going to put words in people's mouths or anything like that. However, do I think that they could have done this movie bigger and better and badder and really given it that Ragnarok treatment and just been a departure from the first two? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Were the first two terrible? No. However, what I did like about this movie in Kang, and this is by no means like an ultimate defense of him, is it really felt like a way that they can kick off his story, push him somewhere else, that it leaves us wondering where these Kangs, like it keeps the mystery of Kang alive, I think. Like we see him, he's gone. We see him, he's gone. Some people don't like the multiversal aspect of that in the variant versions. I just think it was cool to see him think that he was going to make it out to continue all this and to be put down by Ant-Man. Like, it's Ant-Man. I don't like Ant-Man. I'm not a huge Ant-Man fan. If I had to choose a team of like 5 Avengers or heroes, he's never going to be on my team. His skill set could be in my team. The MCU version of Ant-Man, I just not for me. But knowing that this potential Kang, like, it just adds to the whole 616 hero lore that's being created. And we'll jump into that in a second with the Council of Kings, but like, dude, you were beaten by a 616 character who
talks to ants.
Yeah, kind of like the Ant Boot thing. Like he's nobody. He's nobody. And the was it the cleaners, the ice cream shop?
Yeah.
Like, that to me is always continuous. Like they always put that out there, just like, see you later, Spider-Man. See you later, someone else. Like, we don't know you. Like, nobody knows you're an Avenger. You have a book. Like, you're just a guy. Like, King lost you. It's embarrassing. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think I disagree. We just need to be patient, and it's hard to be. It's hard to be, right? It's not easy, especially now where I think Marvel wants to do something different against Thanos. You know, they don't want to just be like, oh, you know, he's the big bad. Here he comes. In this movie, here he comes again, and then in this movie he makes the big impact, and then he loses. I don't think they want to do that again. So they're dropping like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there to keep adding on. And we're not ready for that.
I think COVID definitely you could tell it took a huge blow on the planning for this phase. Like, I know we talked about this once before, but they had, obviously their original slate is much different than what we got for phase 4 and 5 and 6, I think. But it's just everybody kind of also was expecting every movie to be like the end of Infinity Saga run of just banger after banger after banger. But this time around they have to pretty much start from the beginning, kind of, and reset with new characters, a whole new world order, I guess, after those type of events happened. And I always tell people to, like, with phase 1, you didn't get all the freaking eggs in one basket right away. It built up over time. It's gonna be the same way for phase 4. But like Billy said, it's hard to be patient when every movie sucks.
And super
it is
quick to the point. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's not like I think a lot of these movies will age better over time, as you said. Um, like Multiverse of Madness. I think that movie will definitely be, by the time the whole multiverse saga is in like full swing, I think it was a great stepping stone into how vast the multiverse is, but didn't show its cards all at once like we had originally hoped and thought. I think over time it'll be a little better. I think this movie, as Kang's story gets told more, might be a little better because we understand at least this version of Kang if they use him a little more, or at least his motives, to just show how other Kang's motives are. We'll see a similarity between them, and it'll kind of make more sense to the overall story. But in the moment, it's hard to be patient considering how a couple years ago we were getting banger after banger after banger.
And even think of that with banger after banger. Like when you really look at it, of an Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Captain Marvel, not so much Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp 2. It didn't really make a huge impact or a dent in the box office, but Captain Marvel did. But when you talk to people about Captain Marvel, that's probably on the bottom of most people's list, right?
Yeah.
The movie excelled because of the high stakes post credit scene of Nick Fury with Captain Marvel's beeper. You're gonna show up and like, ooh, what happened? Like, I don't necessarily think the issue, like the more I talk about this stuff, I think it's fairly simple from the standpoint of, because the entire saga storyline isn't clear and we don't know what we're looking for, that hurts all of these movies. When in actuality, they're okay movies. Like, to me, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is an okay movie. It's in a decent range, but I think, you know, it just did what it did. It's one of the better. It's probably the best Ant-Man movie. If you're, origins aside, like, that's tough to compete with an origin movie that's done pretty well, that surprised us. That's hard to overcome. But an Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is must see because it falls after Thanos was coming. Like, think about if we didn't get Kang at all and just movie goes. People are gonna be like, his face sucks. Like, who's the big bad? That's what we got in Phase 4. So it's a tough balance of what do people really want. I will say, and I'm curious what you guys think about this. This kind of off from what I had. This movie gave people a lot of things that they were asking for from Phase 4, but didn't dress it up and make it like in your face. They just kind of just set it in front of people. Like, it went back to, I'm probably going to say some things maybe that I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but we're just going to say it, right? We had that white male lead. All right, here's Ant-Man. His sidekick took a back seat. Wasp was not in our face. That whole MCU agenda was not pushed in this movie. Janet, yeah, she had presence. Cassie had presence. Wasp had presence, but they were never overexposed to a certain degree that you about Shuri or She-Hulk or Wanda or whatever it might be. Then you get a really good villain for the most part who took out a lot of people. They just weren't humans. Like, when he first came down and jumped down, he was zapping, people in the microverse. But people are like,
destroying.
I've watched this on YouTube or the movie theaters like 14 times now, and he put in work. Like, the count was double digits.
Yeah.
But it gets brushed aside. He owned the three of them. And it was they moved the story along. Like, that's what a lot of people have been asking for, and it had elements of those things that fans are talking about, but it wasn't enough. Any thoughts on that? Like, do you feel the movie should have satisfied a lot of things for fans, but it just didn't enough to make it one of the worst MCU movies from Rotten Tomatoes standpoint of all time?
It's hard because I don't think it's hard. Let me change the way I want to say that. It's in a weird position, and I think it's almost kind of like what you guys have said, just the positioning of it, right? It's starting off a phase after a phase that a lot of people didn't generally like. I would almost like to see, like, for example, how Phase 2, if Phase 2 came out today, how people would react to it.
Hmm.
Because I do think, like you've said, COVID changed a lot of people's
Yeah.
viewpoints on movies. You know, a lot of people watched a lot of movies, so they became a little more um, like critical. You know,
Critics.
yeah.
Sure.
Um, you know, how we view and consume media is a lot more different because of the pandemic. So it would almost make me wonder, you know, how would a Thor 2, you know, a Thor the Dark World, if it came out, how would that feel to people? How would an Iron Man 2 feel to people? You know, people still say, oh, those are some of the quote unquote the worst, but then when you see them make a tier list, it's still upper mid tier, which is confusing to me.
Yeah, because
Um,
at the time it got a 70 something IMD. It's a 7.5, but like I'll say this. I did this the other night, truthfully. Phase 2, my top 5, maybe in no particular order, but Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man 1, Iron Man 3. If you guys want to take time to Google what was in Phase 2, like those are my tops. Like those movies would get crapped on today.
absolutely.
Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies.
Everyone
However,
Winter Soldier, though, I thought.
not
I thought that was.
everyone loves Captain America. Not everyone's a part of that. Like, not everyone is like, let me see the spy espionage up their alley.
Yeah,
Or,
Guardians.
like Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians would almost feel very weird, you know, where it's like,
Yeah.
well, how does this connect? Yeah, they put Thanos in an Infinity Stone, but if you look clear, based on the other movies that came out, except mainly Age of Ultron, they don't really deal much with Infinity Stones. They don't talk about an Infinity Stone again until Doctor Strange, which is the second movie in Phase 3.
Mm,
That's a long time. That's a
Yeah.
really long time.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
people just don't have the patience. And I get it, right? It is hard because, you know, some people think that the movies aren't amazing, but
Now couple that with you have COVID fatigue, we have social media fatigue, we have algorithm fatigue, we have like it's weird to think that in the last couple years we've been pushed a lot of things that like we should like, right? Recommendation. You should like this, you should like this, you should like this. But then at the same time, I almost say like fans in the MCU don't know what they want. Because
I think
for
it's just
exactly
become-
this list, like you got Avengers 1, you're like, you know what? Give me a 2-part movie that explains and time travels and brings back people and dusts people and blips and pushes the MCU forward 5 years. Like, how many people, if I would have told you that, I'd be like, that's probably not the play. Like, how many people do you think would have said that? And I'm like, oh, really? Because, by the way, that's Infinity War and Endgame, 2 of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not a good idea. Like,
and again, it comes down to just truly how much, you know, social media and world events have changed how people view these
For sure.
movies. You know, I genuinely do, because now it makes me wonder where a movie like The Flash, you know, ethics aside, how is that going to do, having 2 different Batman, 2 Flashes, a Supergirl that nobody's ever seen? You know, how's that movie going to do? Are people going to trash on it?
It's gonna get review bombed no matter what, just because of everything
that
Ezra
your Snyderverse
done.
fans, like,
and Snyderverse
Exactly.
fans just don't want for it.
Exactly.
I am personally very excited for it, just from a whole movie standpoint. Everything Ezra's done obviously is kind of
messy.
messed up, very messy, but like I don't know. I think that movie's gonna get a lot of hate just because of the whole background that it's had.
But it's suffered very similarly, in my opinion, to like what's going on in the MCU. Where do those legacy DCEU characters come into play? Like, You're bringing back
Yeah.
an old Batman. You're bringing in the DCU Batman. You have this, that guy. Like, all right, you're gonna switch some things up most likely, and then on top of that, you do bring back someone from Krypton, and it's not Henry Cavill. It is not Superman. It is not like anyone who's like, yeah, I watched the Flashpoint animated movie. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, tell me how Superman was in that. And they're like, not like what I saw in the trailer. You know, like there's gonna be a lot of different angles, but that's just how it is. It's a weird gray area that everything is gonna fit into, and hopefully someone pulls it positive versus more negative, like a larger group. I don't know. But what I do know is this is universally undisputed, and if people disagree, well, help you, because we finally got 2 legitimate post-credit scenes, a mid-credit scene and 1 post-credit scene. The first one, when you guys saw this, I don't know if you were expecting it. I personally was not. But when you first saw Scarlet Centurion, Ramatut, and Immortus, the leaders of the Council of Kangs, on screen together, Jonathan Majors once again putting in work, where was the hype level?
It's pretty hype.
Yeah, it shot back up.
Mm-hmm.
It shot back up. I think
no, it went like purely to a 10, no question in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. I was expecting to see at least some form of Kang or He Who Remains in a post-credit scene. I wasn't expecting to see a billion of them, like the calling all together, but so that was very hype. But I was like, there's no way they could just end the movie with Kang going into the beyond and then not have him in one of the post-credit scenes. So like, it'll make no sense. So I'm very happy they not only did him in 1 but 2.
Yeah.
Think about Multiverse of Madness, right? I think Hero Scroll, I was talking to you about it, and I was like, this movie feels somewhere in that Multiverse of Madness, the Love and Thunder range. You're just somewhere in there. It's different. It's not my favorite. It's not the best. It's not the worst, but it just it is, right? It exists. But think of the end credit scenes of Multiverse of Madness. Oh, hey, someone shows up. Cool, let's jump into this portal. There's something else we're going to do. Who knows where I'm going to show up again? All right. And then bam, kick it to, I guess, a friend-pleasing moment for Sam Raimi with the hot dog stand guy doing this thing and stuff. And it's just like, cool. I sat here for an additional 5 minutes after that when I may or may not have liked the movie. Got it. But in this one, we have a meeting of the big 3. And we have Scarlet Centurion talking to Ramatut, telling him that the exiled Kang had died. Immortus revealed that he was defeated by an Avenger. And that Avenger, amen. So they know.
Yeah.
Worried that the Avengers would destroy everything they had built, Immortus decided to call upon the Council of Kings to handle the issue. Now, fun fact, in the comics, Ramatut was caught in a time storm, transporting him to modern-day Earth 616, assuming the title of Scarlet Centurion, which was inspired by Dr. Doom. A good quote from the movie, and one that really stuck out to me, was Ramatut saying to Scarlet Centurion, "It must really eat you up that you're not the one who killed him." So let's unpack this. What do you guys think all this means? Where do you think this is going to go for the leaders of the Council of Kings who are summoning all the rest of them in a gladiator stadium full of Kings hyping out Jonathan Majors once again everywhere? For the most part.
It's exciting. I really don't know where it's gonna go, and I think I was talking to you, Lou. When I said it, I wasn't expecting the Council of Kangs till Loki. That I genuinely thought that was gonna be the big reveal for Loki season 2, and for them to pull the trigger now, I was definitely excited, but I was also a little confused in the sense of, well, where's that gonna go? Um, but I what was it? I lost my train of thought. Someone else go, and I'll get it back in a second. It'll come back to me in a little bit.
No worries.
Oh, one thing that I'm still like confused about the whole council is he who remains very much made it seem like he was the only one left of his Kang variancy, I guess. So that kind of like, I don't know, seeing all them like million, hundreds of them was like, damn, he definitely was lying. Or I don't know, it kind of brings me back to my theory I brought up on the last show about how it's just a whole loop. And I think He Who Remains was the multiversal war that he ended is the one that we're about to see unfold. But obviously being at the end of time, like, it's over with. So killing him is kind of what messed it up. Messed the loop up, I should say. But I don't know. I kind of like the whole thing still confused me a little bit as I'm not too familiar with it from the comics.
He does say he ends up right back there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll see you soon, kind of thing.
You help me. You help me get my train back.
Go ahead.
Nice.
But no, I was gonna say, when a Silver Centurion, well, we're assuming is Silver Centurion, right?
Right.
When he was told that, he was definitely angry, and based upon what Loki saw, right? And I know this is kind of skipping ahead to what else we're going to talk about, but when he sees Kang, it's almost like a bit of fear to me that he is almost scared of him. And for He Who Remains, I don't think there is a reason for him to be scared, right? That's why it makes me feel like the TVA is going to be something in relation to the Council of Kangs.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find a way to connect those two and have maybe an unseen, other variant that's on the level of, Ramatut and Immortus and Silver Centurion come out in that show.
Okay. I want to run through these couple pieces because I think we can try and tie it all together of who each of these ones are and like where are they going to stand in the good guy, bad guy realm of this entire multiversal war. Because I think at the end of the day, how did He Who Remains contain all of these kings who we're saying are, from an MCU version, like god tier? The fact that they're making a literal god in the MCU Loki nervous that they exist. And we got another one who has said, "Oh, are you the one with the hammer? I killed countless Avenger." Like, they're taking out god level characters in this. That's just verbal facts in this saga. But then we have Ramatut, who most people speculate when you go back to Moon Knight, you see silhouettes of his headdress and stuff on the back of that, the denim jackets of the one guy on the rooftop when they're doing that scene. And then you have, from the comics, a Nathaniel Richards who time traveled back to ancient Egypt, used his technology from the future to enslave and then conquer Egypt, becoming Pharaoh, calling himself Ramatut, being a main antagonist to the Fantastic Four. You have that version. We have Immortus, who again in the comics was a future variant of Nathaniel Richards, who worked for the Timekeepers, ruled Limbo, opposed his past selves, and most notably stood as opposition to Kang the Conqueror. And then we have Victor Timely, who we saw in the post-credit scene, who back in Avengers 8 in 1963, we went back in time to January 1st, 1901, took on the name Victor Timely, and then he founded Timely and set himself up, he being Kang, set himself up as an inventor and industrialist with specializations in technology and robotics. So you have each of these Kangs who use their power to go back and do something else, yet we've never really seen that within 616. So, like, how do you think that they're going to play these main, seemingly very important variants of Kang throughout the rest of Phase 5 into 6? Knowing that we have this is a tough question. There's no obviously do the best that we can, but we know that Phase 5 has delays. We know that Phase 6 has really not been outlined that well. We know that we're pulling in legacy characters. We know that the Earth-based characters are going to have their hands full with the New World Order, Thunderbolts, Wakanda's in shambles. Spider-Man went back to being an OG. We have no Avengers team. Captain Marvel and probably our best chances are just out in space somewhere. Guardians are off-world. Captain Marvel, Kamala, Monica, off-world. Thor, who knows? Love is what kind of character is she going to be? Like, it's a mess.
Eternals too, and being somewhere out there.
Blade, Moon Knight, like
Daredevil.
Where did these Kangs come into play? There's tons of them. It's probably gonna be like a 10-to-1 ratio of good guys versus Kangs, or whatever they want to call them. But where do you see these 3 or 4, Victor, Ramatut, Centurion, Immortus? Like, where do they go? 616, that's the target, maybe.
I think they'll probably just jump around different multiverses or universes to try to find where Scott came from to get the obviously vengeance. Or they might just, like, I guess when they're in the council, they had like all the timelines around them in the background. They might come across the one that He Who Remains had hidden, and it was like, oh, this one looks a little untouched, and kind of just go in from there and start messing up.
Wait a second, before we lose that, is that the play? He Who Remains won by just keeping himself hidden, completely separate from the rest of these.
I don't know though, because the thing is,
thought of something crazy actually.
Per what they said, they saw events happen, right? Because what they were saying is, oh, they're getting to touch too much. I don't think that is just in relation to Ant-Man. Yeah, I don't think that's just for Ant-Man beating a Kang.
I think that includes Thanos. I think that includes Scarlet Witch. That includes maybe What If.
Could be the universe that Scarlet Witch murdered all the Illuminati in. I forgot. Because they knew about the multiverse, obviously, from what Reed was saying, and how like they had a good sense of it, obviously, before our main 616 knows about the multiverse. Like, as we saw in Spider-Man Far From Home, he was like, oh, multiverse is real, and then obviously No Way Home kind of confirmed it for him. So they're starting to branch off of the secret timeline, but I don't know, it still leaves the question of how did He Who Remains keep it hidden from all those Kangs for so long? And what if, it's a brand new theory, He Who Remains was the Kang from Quantumania, and once he realized how he got stuck in that void box thing, that's where the 616 is, and that's why it's so hidden. No, that doesn't make sense. Because like you said earlier, they did say that they're starting to touch stuff. Yeah, I got no clue. I have no idea. I don't know. I just want to make a cool theory, but it's just
anyone watching.
There's too much to play.
Being an MCU fan for people who obviously spend their nights talking about it. It's not easy to just like roadmap.
No, it's interesting, and obviously, I hate taking real world account into this, but the fact that Kevin Feige came out and basically said, "Hey, some of these projects might not come out when they're planned or at all." In relation to some of the shows, it really makes me feel like they were reworking even more, and I think that's to make it more congruent or make the pieces fit together more, so where it doesn't feel as random as Phase 4 did. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these Kang sooner than we think. I definitely think we'll see one in Fantastic Four whenever that comes out, and one more before that. In movie, genuinely, because they're tied so closely together, and I don't think you just do Doctor Doom again. I feel like he will be a bigger key, but more towards the end of the phase 6, like in Secret Wars. I think he'll play a bigger part in that, since he did play a big part in both Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see them, at least one of them in Fantastic Four, and another one before the Hand, at least, and then obviously Kang Dynasty.
I think definitely a Fantastic Four, because isn't that the last movie before Kang Dynasty? Now?
Well, yeah, they pushed it back into... Think about that. Now, we know we're getting Spider-Man 4, which is typically rumored to be a winter movie because it always takes that spot. And a weird thing with Sony and Marvel Studios, right? But
that's a lot. No Way Home, or Far From Home and Homecoming both came out in July. So No Way Home was kind of a little off being in the winter.
But I think that was, I don't know, rumors just based on, I don't know. I was not in the room with these people, but I heard that they wanted that big spot, similar to how Avatar filled that winter spot. Like, that is the biggest prime. Like, they want that's prime real estate for Disney. But think about this, though. If Fantastic Four, which is pushed back to February 2025, obviously the Avengers movies will be delayed. I highly doubt that they would put Fantastic Four, Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 in the same year. That just would, I think the box office would explode. Or people would just be fatigued. That's a real thing. I don't know what fans can handle. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is. And then you have to think, where do you put X-Men into that?
Well, gosh, I forget his name.
Whenever it comes out.
Yeah, that was the thing. They said, who's going to come out first? It's just in an article. I'll see if I can find it. But if you are watching this, put it in the comments somewhere. But Fantastic Four is said by Marvel Studios to come out before the X-Men will come out. The 616 X-Men, because obviously with Deadpool and stuff, it's...
So are they waiting for Phase 7? The X-Men?
No. Do we think this is going to be kind of a thing? Because Ant-Man was supposed to close Phase 4, no?
I believe so. Yeah, before it got delayed.
Do they make this a Phase 7 part of the multiverse saga?
Well, they said Phase 6 is done with the multiverse,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it could be done with, like, the main story of the arisal of our heroes knowing about the multiverse, but once the saga's over, I'm sure it'll obviously still be around, and that might be how we get some more cool movies with, like, Chavez learning her powers more. And if other multiverses are open, she could just go back and forth between stuff like that.
Would you guys be open if they jumped to a different universe and ran the MCU in that other universe and like left 616 alone?
I'd be kind of mad. I don't know. I feel like they would have to keep it a little like separate, kind of like an Elseworlds thing that DC's doing, but that would get way too confusing.
I think people would get mad. I don't think people would like that. Because I mean, you look at how the Ultimate Comics did it, and people were pissed.
Yeah.
People were mad. And I know that this Marvel, the MCU does take a lot of stuff from the Ultimate Comics, so it's kind of hard to just jump ship, to a different universe and then be like, oh, here's this story alongside the other one.
It would be like a great way for them to keep going for like another 25 years. And just milk stories, but I don't know. It's just, I would be a little mad if they build something up like that and it's just like, oh, all right, we're going to a different universe.
Listen, if Kang runs up his in King Dynasty like it's rumored to be, how long is the MCU gonna last for at least like Avengers level characters? Here's my thing that I hope
they're starting to run out of those too.
I hope that they utilize this in a way to where they can kind of transition to mostly mutants and have your Fantastic Four and your Avengers storylines be the offshoots. Because for me personally, I think that would just give another feel that this is like a new world without being in a new world or a new storyline, but it's just things are different. I just feel like they just have to kind of escalate everything.
That kind of gives me a theory that like why they're waiting for X-Men for so long. Like they could do Secret Wars and King Dynasty without them, and then have the fallout of it being like, oh, this universe with a bunch of mutants needs seeking refuge, and then that's how mutants get put into the 616, and then obviously over time they start mating with people, and then the mutant gene just starts arising from there, and that'll be like, oh, like that's where the X-Men story picks up. And you get X-Men level threats, Avengers first X-Men maybe, and that could be one way they go about it, just not even having X-Men in Secret Wars or until after the events from it.
And on the flip side, you have the fans are like, why would you introduce Namor and Miss Marvel as mutants?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That is another difficult piece of the story.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot in play of like rights and stories and who got what, when, where, when can these characters have solo films? Who can they be like? I didn't know that Namor can't have his own solo movie, similar to the situation that Hulk was in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
Feature character for the time being.
If maybe, obviously they have answers to that. Obviously they do, and we just have to wait and see. But I think along the lines, you can't just keep escalating, right? Because there's going to be a time where you can't anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because even Galactus, right, at this point doesn't feel any better than Kang or Thanos, in the sense that Galactus just destroys the world, and we've seen that with literally like every villain.
Throw a moon at freaking someone.
Exactly. Ultron tried to do it and almost worked. So can you keep escalating? No. So I think you just cut the story into pieces and you just tell those individual stories where you focus on your, almost how the comics do, where it's like, your street levels stay street levels. Eventually they cross over, your cosmic people to deal with cosmic stuff, and then your in-betweens do a little bit of both. And then when you have big events, right, then they feel a little bit better, and in this sense they can bring stakes, because now the street level heroes have never dealt with something like that, and they can die. And the street level stuff is now doing things that could affect, Avengers and other people, other heroes.
See, that brings a good point. I saw a report the other day about the kill count in King Dynasty is through the roof. apparently. So that's exciting.
Which for me, when I see that, like my whole theory and like what if I had the keys to the Marvel machine, I would use this opportunity to fully define the pockets of the MCU.
Yeah.
Take a Kang and have them go after your tech portion of the MCU. Take a Kang and have them go after the mystical side of the MCU. Face your Midnight Suns types characters, whatever it might be. Take your Kang and have him go into space and do all that stuff with them. Like, they clearly know who these characters are. I think that they should just have a hit list. And these Kangs are saying, fine, I'll do it myself. Like, literally, fine, I'll do it myself. But the only way that we can ensure the future of the multiverse is safe is if all of these people who are a part of Endgame and their associates that have cropped up in Phase 4 are done. I'm talking the Agathas of the world. I'm talking your Thanos, your Ultron, like everyone. Like, there is no good or bad. It's just anyone who is come up after I Am Iron Man 2008. And then everything the Vision says, like the reason like conflict breeds all this junk, like we're going after all of them. Like, you just get kind of a cool team up for like a battle world sense of like battle world is Kang versus 616 and the multiverse or whoever it may be.
There was a
go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say there was a cool little theory that I saw that somebody said the Kang that we think is Silver Centurion being the Beyonder. I don't know if either of you saw that. And they brought the only evidence that they really showed was their costume being kind of similar, the design of it, like the chest plate and all that.
The white one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if they do replace the Beyonder and put Kang in his shoes, could they just use Secret Wars as a reset button? I think they do, right?
I do
Because
too.
at this point, it's what by the time Secret Wars comes out, it'll be like what 17, 18 years almost of storytelling. You can't keep going. You have to stop at some point.
I know Feige said he wants to go until like the 2040s, so the only way they can really do that is if they do the reset.
And it doesn't even have to be a crazy reset. Like, even if they pull where like Doom World type of thing, like you take all these like we know incur happening, just have a bunch of them happen, and we get a new 616 for the time being. And this next saga is that new world until in the end, a Reed Richards or someone like that, they fix it and put 616 back. But everyone's kind of put back into their own little corner of the MCU, and like to give people a break, but to still give something new.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think they have to do like a I guess whenever the Multiverse Saga or Secret Wars ends, I think there should be at least like a year off from everything Marvel like release, just to kind of bring everyone back down to earth. And then if they do the reset like that, and then from there it'll feel like the stakes are higher, it'll feel more fresh if they take like a full year off, because by that point it'll be, like you said, like 17 straight years of like 3 movies a year, 6 freaking TV shows a year. It's gonna get fatigue. So there would be no better way to get hype again than to take a year off, kind of reset, and then build hype for the first project of the next series of story.
Now, here's my question to that. The only thing that's really carrying the box office are Disney licensed products and movies that fall under the Disney umbrella. Like, that's always kind of been the case. Like, that's what 75-80% of box office, and Marvel is a pretty big chunk of that.
That's a good point. Well, Hopefully by then Disney will buy out Spider-Man and then they'll just throw in like Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 4 or something. That's problem solved. I could do a whole like hour if I had the keys to Sony. Oh my god, I could do a whole hour podcast of what they fucked up with and
Dude, imagine that.
everything they freaking
Spider-Man?
could do.
Yeah. Like, you could have 4 main parts of Marvel Studios. Your Avengers level, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man storylines. That covers everything. Everything you can possibly think of.
Yeah. Sony has a chokehold on Spider-Man though. They're
Oh my
not,
God.
and they
Yo,
and
I
they
hate
and they know
so
they
much.
know that, and they're
Yeah.
not letting that go. No amount of money that Disney can offer them, and I'm pretty sure Disney has tried. Honestly,
Mhm.
I believe that Disney has tried more than once. They are not letting Spider-Man go.
Pisses me off. They fumbled such an opportunity with No Way Home and freaking Morbius. Every Sonyverse movie
Yeah.
that just hand me the freaking marketing director keys of Sony and they'll be making $1 billion in the box office every year.
And then they had a
with my
meeting
plans.
and they were like, hey, great idea. Let's make Madam Web and Craven and all these other movies that people aren't
El
really
Muerto.
asking for. And let's change
El
their
Muerto.
Oh God.
Who greenlights an El Muerto movie? He's been in one comic. As part doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. Make a Craven movie about a hunter and be like, oh, he's gonna work with PETA. Like that doesn't make freaking sense, man. He's a hunter. How is he gonna save animals if in his origin he's a damn hunter?
For anyone watching right
I'm
now,
gonna stop going off on a tangent about.
no. That is my example. MCU's dead. Marvel Studios is terrible. Guys, we could be having only Sony productions in DC whatever. And that would be like the realm of the extent of our superheroing that we're consuming on a yearly basis. Like, it's not really that bad. Like, it's not bad.
No.
I mean, I'd be happy with the whole, if done right, just Spider-Man style universe, dude. Like,
I think everybody would.
he go off.
I don't. I hear the MCU's dead, Chance, and Marvel's dead, and I do think that some of it contributes to the release schedule and the story of the movies. Some of them, at least. I don't think it's dead though. There's a reason they keep going and making money, and
Nah, it's
genuinely,
at a
when
low
you think
point.
about it,
It's definitely not dead.
I honestly don't even think it's at a low point. Genuinely,
I
don't-
wouldn't say. Well, I'm just saying, like from
Yeah.
From a
fans,
fan.
some viewpoints it's at a little low.
True, sure, but I personally don't think it's been. I don't think it's been in a low point since like what phase
Phase 2.
2, honestly.
After Avengers. I feel like after Avengers 2 was the last time I could potentially think when people came out and they're like, that wasn't as good as Avengers 1. Like, do I really want to see another Avengers movie?
Mhm.
And then you got another Avengers movie and you're like, oh crap. Actually, no. You got Civil War. Like, you started getting team-ups within solo films. But again, that's why I just have such a hard time. Like, we went through all this stuff about Kang, right? And, there's a future here, obviously, for Jonathan Majors' characters. But we were down in phase 2, and then they came out with the solo film, and they were like, wow, this really, like, this felt like an Ant-Man movie. Like, I literally have read comments where, like, this was such an Ant-Man movie. Yeah. It was called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It definitely was an Ant-Man movie. Like, this not the Conqueror featuring Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I understand the complaints. I get that. But, like, you knew who we signed up for. You knew we signed up for with Thor 4, directed by Taika Waititi. You knew we were getting with Sam Raimi and Multiverse of Madness. It was a Doctor Strange movie. I'm guilty of this all day long, but I'm thinking, like, we're going to get the Illuminati and they're going to save the day. And then, bam, Professor X is going to be in 616 now.
Deadpool's gonna show up and
Yeah,
it's be
that's on me.
like, damn.
That was on me.
Yeah. But then it makes you wonder why a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home works, where that does feel like its own story and its own, you know, at least I think it does. It feels like its own little thing, you know? So it doesn't really connect outside of, oh yeah, there's a multiverse. But how does that affect Peter?
They opened it and closed it. They teased it worse than anything else.
Exactly. And then they just jump into Multiverse of Madness, which is not,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing, because then, you know, you have Spider-Man doing his own thing, and you have
Sure.
Doctor Strange doing his own thing, because now, next time we see Doctor Strange, at least to me, I know where he's going to be. He's going to be off doing whatever he's doing with Clea and the Chaos Dimension.
Yeah.
I see. That brings me to. I really want to see how Phase 4 and I guess Phase 5 would have played out given no pandemic or release. Because I really want to know how WandaVision would have been different if they were able to finish WandaVision and then come out with Multiverse of Madness like 2 weeks later, and then also have that happen before No Way Home, and have Chavez be the one that kind of brings like Toby and Andrew into play.
I mean,
So it would be really interesting if they did like a what if Phase 4 originally played out the way they're playing it out. Because they could have, like, they had to rework a lot to go back and explain, like, oh, No Way Home was supposed to happen after the multiverse was open, but that's what opened the multiverse. And then the year break between WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness, I feel like they had bigger roles for Ralph Boner, but obviously because of the gap, they had to change a lot. So I think just knowing all that, what it could have been, definitely hindered fans' expectations or set fan expectations way too high. And obviously, all of us being on the internet 24/7 during the pandemic was creating a shit ton of theories. And I don't know, it's just kind of like something fun to look back on about what it could have been versus what we have now, and how we could be talking about a totally different theory regarding Phase 5 and Kang if that original release schedule was the one that came to play. Like, we would have known an answer about Kang by now, or Loki. Freaking, it's fun to think about that stuff.
Ultimately, in the end, I do think Phase 4 hurt the beginning of Phase 5, because towards the end, it was confirmed, like, people that you didn't know what was going on. And that, like, cohesive, those breaks that you were saying, like, I think it could have been a little bit cleaner. Like, what was supposed to kick it off? Falcon and Winter Soldier? Isn't that supposed to be the first one?
I think so. Yeah, that was originally it was gonna be Falcon. I don't know what was after that.
But
I think it was to be Falcon and then Black Widow. Then we got Black Widow and then Falcon.
yeah,
And then WandaVision and then something like that.
I think it would have been a little bit cleaner, but I also think what isn't clean more than anything else is the Earth-based portion of the MCU. It's very non-existent. Like, think about a lot of the loose threads that we have, like Tiamat just sitting in the ocean.
Yeah.
No one talks about it. Like, that's a
Still
problem.
not a mention about it. Like,
Right.
how was the whole ass freaking Celestial gonna appear out of nowhere and be like, oh,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's so many puzzle pieces that don't fit together yet. And even looking at the original Phase 4 timeline that I have here, that I looked it up. It was Black Widow, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Eternals, Shang-Chi, WandaVision, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, and then Thor: Love and Thunder. Does that fit? Also, I don't think it does.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, having Wanda, Multiverse of Madness, and Loki back to back to back makes a lot of sense. I think having Black Widow and Falcon kind of makes sense to be more grounded Earth, but like we should have thrown Hawkeye in that same sequence also, because he's ties right into what's it? Black Widow with Elena.
But like those are all the first. Think about all the things that people don't like about Quantumania is a direct reflection. This is a reach, but like we're starting to get tainted visual effects. That was huge in Black Widow. Okay, can Marvel handle visual effects? Not sure. Disney Plus budget wasn't big enough. And Fight of WandaVision, those things like the big the big climactic scenes didn't really hit as hard. And then you get who are the big villains? Like we know MCU has villain problems, you know, for whatever people feel. But like then you get Kang and you're like, uh-oh, we're continuing the villain problems. And then we have the whole thing with, you know, the end of the phase with She-Hulk and all those types of characters are just like, what are you guys doing? And then you get like, ooh, the multiverse, here's Daredevil. And you're like, where did Daredevil come from? And people didn't like him in that. And it's just, I don't know. I just think it was just like over time, just little cracks that I think people just pulled apart and made a lot bigger because we had the time to make them bigger. And now it's just kind of what fans do. Like that's just the norm to do now. Like that's the expectation. And I'll always, this is my last piece to this. The MCU runs the risk of being a Dragon Ball. Where the power scale will creep. Oh
yeah.
You had your Frieza saga, great villain, great storyline, very drawn out, like people went crazy for it. Man, your main characters, everyone had their moment, everyone did something big, it was emotional, it was impactful, and then you move on. And then it's like, where do we go here? Now we only have two characters that can be the strongest, and then the person who was supposed to be strongest doesn't even care anymore. And then you have like all these other pieces that can go into it. So now you get into a Dragon Ball Super, and it's just like, it is beyond epic that it looks like we see all their fights. They're supposedly moving faster than they've ever moved before, but I can see everything that they're doing, and they're on a completely different level, but we can see what they're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to bring it down for the audience to some level without it just going way too far out there. And for a lot of people, they jump ship because of it, and it's just like, that's the same old thing. I don't want to get into manga spoilers, but there can be a lot of parallels. Like, you've done this before. I've seen this 15 times already. Like, I don't, like, what are you doing? That's where I can ultimately see the MCU getting. And with Kang and Ant-Man, they tried to avoid a lot of those repeats, especially with Thanos. And it almost was like a lose-lose. So at the end of all these things, Kang, I think he was a lose-lose to be an introduction in Phase 5. If he wasn't in it at all, it would have been an issue. If that was just a post-credit scene, it wouldn't have made sense to me. The only thing that could have fit, I think, is if they kept the Loki scene. But I think, given the circumstances, Kang was set up to fail.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, man. Again, it makes me wonder how differently this movie would be perceived if it came out maybe at the end of Phase 4 or even later. I don't know. But the thing is, what else do you release? You know? Because then you look at what releases at next, which is Guardians, which I think is going to be a good movie. But it's still going to have the issue of people going, well, where does this fit into the grand story? And it's like, I don't know if people can enjoy the MCU story for what it is anymore. You know, as a singular solo story, because we want the big picture, because we know what the big picture. We know that when we get the big picture, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be Infinity War. It's gonna be Endgame. And I think we're chasing after that high again.
100%.
And it's not coming
Mhm.
soon enough, you know?
Right.
We've already removed what, 4 or 5 years from Endgame?
Yeah.
That's nuts to think. We're living in the freaking post-snap timeline. Like every time I think about that, it feels ridiculous.
You got whales swimming upstream now.
Right?
That's
So,
awesome.
but yeah, it's, how can we temper the MCU needs to temper expectations, right?
I
And
feel like they kind of did
it's
that
hard.
with Phase 4. And that's why they kind of laid the groundwork for introducing all of these people to not really connect it yet, but still introduce new characters for the phase. That's something I always tell my friends whenever they talk about how bad Phase 4 was, and they're like, "Oh, nothing connects." But I'm like, it'll take time. Like I could see by the time I saw a theory the other day, even though like we saw Quantumania already, and but we all had theories about the Bangle War and the rings being like brought up again in Quantumania.
Mhm.
The theories are still going with like Kang and them being remnants of the first multiversal war. We didn't get a denial from it, so that's still something we could always look back on. And sucks we didn't get a clear answer for it, but I don't know. Look how long it took Marvel freaking between Phase 1, 2, and 3 to connect some things.
Listen.
And we're only a year into Phase 4 and 5. Not a year, but pretty much only a couple years into this new storylines.
Yeah. I don't see many people talking about this, but when big old Laserhead shot King and he like Shang-Chi'd it and changed the color and
Oh,
turned
yeah.
it from yellow to blue and then did all that, like that instantly took me to the rings.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
And I was
absolutely.
like, no.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything, but I don't see many people talking about like if that is a connection or if that was just a
Coincidence.
choreograph. What am I trying to say? A coincidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Choreography coincidence?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
And I think that could be one of those moments where I feel like the MCU almost tempered your expectations a bit to lower them. For example, I know Brandon said that he feels I kind of disagree in the sense of like, for example, WandaVision, right? How we were like, oh, they're gonna bring in this and this, and then they give it to you for like a 2-episode span with Ralph Bonner, and then they're just like, just kidding, guys. He's just this random guy. That really isn't teaching you to lower your expectations. That's just kind of letting you down.
That's
And
just
then-
mean.
Pissing me off.
That's just fucking. That
And-
was just mean.
It is, right? And then I feel the same way about Multiverse of Madness, because remember, I think before Multiverse of Madness, I think it was Spider-Man and then What If before that, right? And the big thing that everybody loved was the evil Strange from What If. And then in the post-credit scene of No Way Home, you get basically the teaser trailer for Doctor Strange. And who's the stinger? The evil Strange. And everybody's like, oh my god, it's the one from What If. And then you realize, no, it's just a random Strange.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
still
Hey,
cool. It
that's
was still very cool.
That's part of our whole discussion from earlier about wanting things to connect so much and just like dying for the connectivity.
Yeah.
Or is that the right word? Connectivity? I don't know.
Yeah.
Piecing things together. Like we want all these things to connect, but
Yeah.
obviously sometimes you can't do everything, connect everything right away.
But there's that stuff. It's that GIF or GIF, however you want to say it, of Leonardo DiCaprio like getting off the chair and he's pointing at it and he's like, "That's it, that's it." Like you think that like we go through and we are doing this on a light scale of like theory craft and like, investing, put time into like looking at the details. I probably spend more time looking over Marvel content from pages to screen than probably anything else besides work, which is probably not the best thing to say out loud. But like when you see like this is very clear. Like A and B, like they go together and they're just like, you thought so, but they don't. You're like, why? And they're just like, because we decided not to. And you're just like, that's dumb. Like, why would you do that to me? It doesn't make sense. This felt like a little face slappy of just Scott at the very end is just like, did I don't know. Like I feel like it was Kang was the fandom and Marvel Studios was Scott in this sense of like, we want to do what we're gonna do. You guys want to do what you want to do. You disappear, but I'm still here. Like it's my movie. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I genuinely think Doctor Strange is probably the most egregious that did that, right? Because again, Marvel knew, right? Marvel knew how much people enjoyed that evil Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Right? From What If. So for you to have him be the end teaser, right? That's to create the expectation of I'm gonna see him and it's gonna be awesome. And it's also gonna connect back to WandaVision.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But then it's not.
Dude, it's that puzzle game, man. You check your answers at the end and like something's wrong and you're like, no, but this all makes sense. There's nothing wrong.
Exactly. It makes too much sense, right? Yeah. So don't show it to me, right? Because if you don't show him and the teaser, people then don't have that expectation. So when he shows up and you're like, oh, it's just another evil Strange, you feel pretty good about it, I think. You feel, oh, I got to see another version.
Another point to that is how they pretty much teased or confirmed like all of the Illuminati in the trailers besides Reed and Black Bolt. And that kind of, I think that did the opposite to the fans of what they were implying. I think they did that to subvert expectations, but in reality, it freaking increased them way too much because they're like, oh, we're going to reveal Professor X. And then that's what created everyone to be like, damn, if they're going to show that in the trailers, they're going to have so much more secrecy into who's there. But in reality, it was like, I think they did that to subvert expectations a little bit in the marketing.
That's the issue, though. Like, that's what I don't know.
It's hard to market to so many people that have so many different interests, besides at its core being Marvel fans. And as a marketing director myself, it's hard to please everybody. Like when I do my little posts for my company's Instagram page, sometimes I get a lot of engagement if I post like a meme, but then the older people that follow it are like, what the hell is this? Like, why is this on my feed? And Marvel is under like the same thing. You have pretty much any demographic under the sun nowadays, and it's just so hard to please everybody.
Yeah, you're getting original comic book readers who grew up with that, and now you're at the point where those that grew up with the MCU also have a voice. That's a lot. Like that is a lot to juggle. But back to your. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's the people that are just they wanted to hop on the MCU trend, like when they hopped in for Infinity War, Endgame style events. They're like, damn, I gotta hop. Like I know so many people that started watching Marvel after Infinity War just so they could be excited to like go to the theater and see Endgame. And then there's people that are just Marvel haters just because they're freaking like it's too popular or it's mainstream, just like how there's DC haters or it goes for everything now. It's just
hating gets the views.
For sure does. Easy views.
Easy views because you'll get the fans that enjoy it going to defend
Start
it.
hating on things here.
Yeah, and then change our outlook on everything. But you get these people, these reviewers who are very uneducated in the comic genre, and superhero, and they just base it on that, and they're like, well, this movie sucked because this character, and when they can't take into account this character has history,
Yeah.
and not only the movies but also the books, they don't care to do the homework on that and go and actually research and do that, because I feel like a lot of the professional reviewers would change their tone even with Ant-Man, to be honest.
For sure.
But you don't, because hating is easier and it gets more views at the end of the day.
It does, and that's where I always say these two pieces. I have my enjoyment factor when I go and I consume the movie, and I'm just like, okay, did I enjoy watching them? Did I not? And then you let it sit for a minute, and you either go see it again or reviews or whatever it might be, and watch it, and then I start to critique it and break it down and pull the parts. And in the end, I always find positivity in Marvel movies because the themes, the characters, the stories, the relatability, the humanizing factors and events that happen in this, like the themes, like when you really go through a movie like that, like they're not bad movies. But
People
like
just don't
MODOK,
get
like,
it that way.
for sure. But MODOK, I enjoy MODOK. But when I did that with him, I liked him so much more when I broke down the character of MODOK and what he stood for and how I interpreted him, versus being like, it's a big-headed guy and we saw butt cheeks on a certain part of the thing, like whatever, like yeah, you know
Dude,
what I mean?
I
Like,
must have freaking missed that scene because I don't even remember seeing it.
Awesome.
Like, everybody's like, "Oh, MODOK's cheek." Oh, I saw the pictures of it now, but everyone was like, I didn't even know what happened until after the movie. I was like, "What the hell is? Why is everyone talking about MODOK's cheeks?" Like,
he delivered my favorite joke.
We can laugh about that, but if I were to tell you, I'm like, hey, there's a character who's designed only for killing. And guess what? You see him like butt nude. And it's like, well, that's kind of weird.
What
Like,
the
I don't think
hell?
I'd like that. It's just like, no, but
yeah,
again, like, it's just, as you peel these movies back, now call it us making it, and I'm stealing this from one of my buddies. It can be us reading too much into these things and really making it and molding these scenes to what we want to make them enjoyable because of the given fandom and environment in MCU. But I really don't think that's the case for a lot of these characters, especially coming from someone who likes reading the comic books. We'll go back and we'll look at the ways that creators adapted these characters in the past. Like, a lot of them have a common theme, or they depart so much from that common theme that it's really in your face and you just understand what it is and what they're trying to pull from. And I'll always say this, once we can get out of our own way, especially after watching trailers. I think trailers are the worst things that Marvel is doing right now.
Absolutely.
Because it just creates such a mindset, and fans are so excited when they come out, and there's that gap in time, and then when you see it, we've crafted just like what this movie was supposed to be. When I go back and watch the trailer, I always say, if you're watching this, go back and watch the original Ant-Man Quantumania trailers, the first two, and then see if that's how you thought, or like then compare it to the movie. It's different from what they try to push, and you guys know it. And obviously, Brando's, you're in that world. Like, there's a business element to these movies still, and that's a part of the puzzle. It's not just they're doing it for free for our fun and entertainment.
Yeah, trailers, and not only for Marvel. I think that extends outside of Marvel, but that's a whole conversation for another day, a whole podcast episode. But trailers are the worst, right? And the minute I will always watch only the first trailer and try my absolute hardest to stay away from the other ones, because the other ones either show too much, they go on for too long. The best example of that right now, I don't know if you guys enjoy these movies, but what's the name? Fast X.
Yeah.
That's a 4.5
That
minute
trailer
trailer.
is insane. The trailer for this movie, I forgot. I think it's like 65 with Adam Driver, something like that. Even the trailer for that movie is long as hell, and I feel like it looks like a good movie, but they reveal way too much in there. I feel like they could easily just be like, "Oh, it's Adam Driver, another planet." Like, he's gonna screw shit up on this world. There's
Yeah.
gonna be problems, but they go through like the whole origin of how he gets there in the trailer. I'm like, wow, like that's what the movie's for. Like, save it. You gotta save some stuff for the movie.
100%. And I don't. I mean, I'm okay with the whole, like, I'm not okay with it, but the Infinity War Hulk, oh, Hulk's gonna be in it, but he's not. That's actually Hulkbuster type of thing. Like, those for me, like, I was upset at that personally. But for this movie, it's just, they gotta hold back. Like, the way that people feel about the entirety of movies and Disney Plus and special presentations, I'm not on board with that. Apply that to your trailers and your teasers. Like, stop revealing so many things, because in the end, like, they're pretty straightforward. But to your point, I forget which one of you guys said it. Like, from a content creation, search any hashtag when the first trailer comes out for Quantumania. It's huge. It blows up. Bam. Okay. Then the next one comes out. People are going to make content on it. Bam. That blows up. And then you see them marketing like 120 million views, the most YouTube watched trailer on YouTube of all time. Like, that's a big deal for a lot of these companies. And, like, numbers matter for a lot of them. And it's like, well, how big can your trailer get? My trailer's pretty big. How big is yours? Type of thing. Just like, no, like, no. It's just going to be a good movie.
They got the whole freaking. I'm sorry. Say, just look at how No Way Home was marketed. That was, we were on a roller coaster ride for that. I don't even want to get into that.
I had my issues with that.
But I feel like No Way Home was the one instance where they almost restrained themselves, right? At least to me, I think they obviously still showed a little too much, but they, in the case of No Way Home,
at the same time,
they didn't. Yeah, they definitely held back a lot, because I remember, I think the only you get mainly like the first 20 minutes of No Way Home in the trailer,
yeah,
and then they still show the end, close to
Yeah.
the end fight. But I do think that was intentional. I think they knew people would analyze the trailer to death.
That Brazilian trailer was the worst.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But I think that also helped No Way Home a little bit, though. The fact that they didn't show the trailer till like 2 months before, almost.
Well, the fact that
the first one came out in August, I believe.
August. Yeah. And it came out in December, right?
Yeah. So the first like teaser was in August, and then the second like main trailer was in October or November, I think. No, it had to have been after November, because I got this tattoo in November, around that time, and I remember I was going like, damn, I hope they come out with a No Way Home trailer the day I get this tattoo. I hope they reveal Toby and Andrew the day I get a Toby and Andrew tattoo, but it never happened. It was like 2 days off. But yeah, dude, the marketing for that movie was very interesting. I think they killed it. And they definitely released the Brazilian trailer on purpose. I don't think that was the error of editing error. They definitely made it in Brazil, so it's like, oh, see if these Brazilians catch it, and then see if anyone in the US that's watching it catches it, and just generates all the clicks to get the Brazilian trailer clicks, because that's technically under a different YouTube account. So boost engagement, boost freaking searches. It confirms but didn't confirm. We still left people up in the air if Toby and Andrew were gonna be in it.
And
So,
to
but
the point, like that expands their global footprint so much more. Like how many of us are now going to type in like trailers from different countries and those types of things just to see if we can get a little bit, which is wild for us, but like, can I see just a little bit more
yeah.
to figure out the movie? But I get upset when they show me too much. It doesn't make sense. It's a sick circle that we all, a lot of us do. Like, I want to see more in the trailers. So I'm going to zoom and enhance.
Yeah.
Spoil myself.
I think it's even gone as far as like the closed captioning on one of them. I can't remember what. It was either in a movie or a game at one point, but they were like, oh yeah, they used the closed captioning in the like Indian or European trailer to reveal that a possible character that wasn't shown before was in it. I'm like, man, you guys go into some far lengths, 'cause I never would have thought of that.
Oh, that happened in WandaVision where people were turning on closed
that's what it
captioning.
was.
Was it WandaVision?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
I forgot what character it was though.
Was it
I
for
think it
what?
was with the. Was it for the person that everyone thought was going to be Reed Richards showing up in the freaking with Monica? No, the scientist. I feel like everyone translated that in a different language to be like the smartest scientist in the world or something. So everyone was like, "Oh, it's gonna be Reed Richards." Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Or Blue Marvel, I think it was
something like that.
Yeah. Would have been okay.
I don't know. Man, these trailers, man, freaking.
They're horrible. They're horrible.
Yeah, they are. But gentlemen, remember in the beginning when I said stick with us for the next 45 minutes? I forgot to say an hour over in 45 minutes. So we'll edit that. We'll put it back in the beginning to set a true expectation for what this was. But to be honest with you, again, to me personally, these conversations can stem and just go off the rails from a topic perspective, but they're all so relevant to what this movie is. Like, it is not as straightforward in the MCU, and it's not going to get any cleaner. Like, you have to make a conscious effort to separate and isolate these movies and look at them for what they are, but there's just so much baggage that comes with that, and it's so hard to like clear the noise away and truthfully look at these things with kind of like a clear lens and perspective, because as soon as you're done with it, you hear it. As soon as you go into it, you hear it, positive and negative.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of influencers in this world with one of the biggest franchises in cinema history. And at the same time, it's kind of cool because it brought all us together. So I'm not going to hate on it, because that's Brando's. Give us a shout out over there, man. I didn't give you any time.
For what? I'm confused.
Your Funko.
Oh yeah, this bad boy.
Yeah.
Legend.
I have. No. I was trying to see if I have my. Yeah.
I love him.
All right, last prediction. What is the collector core going to be for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Do we know?
No, I don't think they've
I
shown
haven't
it
looked
yet.
into any spoilers, but
I haven't seen anything yet.
I haven't seen anything pop up. I don't even try to look into the spoilers for him. They just always pop up on my damn feeds with all these freaking accounts I follow.
Diss trackers.
Yeah, diss trackers, Funko finders.
Looking at you.
But from my wallet wants me to know when these are coming out, because I'm not paying an additional like $50 right off the bat, especially if there's a Kang. Like, if there's a Kang, I'm buying it instantly.
But man, collected core boxes are very hit or miss. And
the last one was heat.
The last one was good. But man, like the past 3 before that one, well, no, Spider-Verse was good. I'll take that back. But at least before Spider-Verse, they were not. They were not.
Wakanda Forever?
Huh?
Wakanda Forever?
I think
Wakanda Forever was
after. It was okay.
It was alright, but not. I would say that.
I like the Thor one.
What was
the Thor one was cool. It came
Oh,
with
the
a nice
helmet.
shirt.
Yeah.
It came with the glow in the dark Mighty Thor,
Yeah.
which was cool because I skipped out on buying all the regular Mighty Thors. So I was like, all right. Oh,
It's all love, you know.
yeah. Well,
Cassie, you're gonna get a Cassie. I'm
Oh,
1000% certain of that.
I feel like it's gonna be a Cassie and MODOK, which I'm not gonna know how to feel about.
They just,
Either of that.
they gotta give him a mouth. Like they need facial expressions for him.
Yeah, how would they even do a freaking MODOK pop?
It would just be the same thing, just a big, like, smooth head, like Black Adam smooth.
Yeah.
I hope it's like a post-credit scene Kang. That would be cool.
That would be cool. But you know what it's gonna be? Bill Murray.
Stop.
Hank and Jam.
Dude, I would cry if it's that Bill
do a
Murray.
ride, but like it'll be one of the ants. Hank on the ants.
I don't think they would do that for a corpse. They gotta fit it in the box.
Just in general.
That would be. I mean, I think that would be cool.
It would be.
Don't they have like a Ant-Man on Anthony ride? Or is that a regular pop?
Yes. No, that's a ride, I believe.
Oh,
yeah. Just give me a Kang. And it's
fine.
That's
really all I want from this is just a Kang. I'm gonna wait until it's like $5.99. Yeah. All right. Maybe I'll get a few. Yeah. Blue or
Blue face Kang would be cool. Yeah.
I was going blue face Kang. Yeah, I gotta.
Blue face Kang.
Or even him just sitting in the time chair. If they could fit it in.
Yes.
I don't think
a timeshare one would be nice.
Oh wait, they have a MODOK pop. Oh yeah. That's right. So they do have that MODOK.
Yeah.
Yeah, the faceplate one.
Oh,
if they do that without the faceplate, I'd cry. I'm skipping that.
I mean, honestly though,
t-shirt. I can never go wrong with a t-shirt.
The past 2 collector cores had just a maskless version because they did it with the Black Panther one for Shuri, and then they did it with Toby.
I don't even know.
I mean, Toby, I think.
Yeah, I know Toby's mask.
We'll give him a bias pass. But in reality, if you think about it, it's not the best.
No,
I'm right there.
No. It's just every time you touch the box or the Funko Pop, you just get transported somewhere. And it takes you somewhere else. Duplicates do not matter with this. No. All right, real quick. The next movie that we see Kang the Conqueror, we need to put it down. We need to put our stamp. Kang the Conqueror. Could be post-credit, could be a blip, could be a flashback. Next movie that we see, will Kangy Poo.
I have to look at the upcoming movies real quick.
Yeah. Ooh, it's tough, man.
I don't know.
I'm gonna give you my sleeper movie of the year.
Which one? The Marvels? Yeah. Out of all of the Phase 5 movies, it makes the most sense for it to be the Marvels.
Just from a band.
Or Deadpool. I could see him in some version of Kang and Deadpool if they're really going the whole multiverse thing.
While you're looking, Kang versus Wolverine and Deadpool, who wins?
That's tough.
2v1.
King and Deadpool?
Yeah.
Oh god, I think Wolverine and Deadpool win that one.
Yeah,
there's all those rumors about Ramatut having adamantium arms because he got them from Wolverine.
Oh, that's true. Oh.
Oh damn, we got Blade in freaking first movie in Phase 6.
Yeah. the Marvels make sense. None of these movies. I don't see him. I don't see him coming out in Captain America: New World Order. I don't see him coming out in Thunderbolts.
I mean, maybe like post-credit scenes just to kind of propel the story along. Like, didn't what movies was Thanos in the post-credit scene for? I know him first talking to Loki was Avengers 1, but didn't he have another one in there too? And
Age
like
of Ultron.
Guardians. Oh,
Age of Ultron, I believe. That's when he's like, "I'll do it myself."
oh, okay.
Because he's in Guardians for the stone.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd say Marvel's probably best bet.
Yeah, Avengers. We see him in one.
Or I'd say that or Fantastic Four.
Age of Ultron. That's fine. I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Let's not forget we're finally getting Adam Warlock after a 2017 Guardians of the Galaxy post-credit scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Oof.
Damn, the last Guardians movie came out in 2017. It's about to be 6 years.
Yep.
Between them. Holy shit, yo.
That's a whole Adam Warlock.
Time doesn't make sense, bro. Kang is messing with our timeline too much.
This is all happening all at once. That's it.
Everything everywhere all at once.
Yes. Well,
that was a good movie.
That was a good movie. We can talk about that movie and how it crapped on Multiverse of Madness' attempt at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Up for debate. But no, so we have, what's the next thing that we see? Secret Invasion? No, that got pushed.
No, Guardians is the next thing. Yeah. I think May
5th.
Wait. Time out.
I think Secret Invasions and a lot of Marvel stuff just got pushed back or has been reported to get pushed back.
Might be wrong. Hold on.
Like the Marvels is no longer coming out the day after my birthday, so I don't have to worry about
Yeah, Guardians is May 5th, and then Secret Invasion is around the middle, and it
summer?
Yeah, because then Loki's after.
Well, remember this, Mandalorian's set to premiere on March 1st, and its season finale is on April.
Wait. 18th. March 1st?
Yeah.
That's in like 3 days.
That's Wednesday. Yeah. That's on Wednesday.
I was like, wow, March 1st, that's a while. All right. You gotta figure Secret Invasion. That's there's no way it can come out before Guardians. It would have to be like June.
Wait, is Mandalorian season 3 is actually coming out in like 3 days? Like confirmed?
Yeah,
March
1st.
Wow. Yeah. Yo, that changes my whole week up. Holy shit.
What are you talking about?
I thought we still had like a couple more months.
Yeah, no, I think Secret Invasion comes out a little bit before the Marvels.
That's fair.
I feel like that makes sense to kind of tie them in together.
I don't know. That should be. Summer's gonna be good, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, because the Marvels is November 10th.
Summer is gonna be good.
I mean, we'll get.
I heard Loki might even get pushed back a month or two in the summer.
That's for me personally. That's
that'll be.
Keep Guardians. Once we get past the hump of Guardians, and I finish going through all my boxes of tissues here, because it's not looking so good for the team.
No, it is not.
Also, side note: does the High Evolutionary's outfit look a little bit too close to the rumored Scarlet Centurion?
A little bit, right? But his is purple, no?
Yeah.
He's wearing purple. Yeah.
I don't know. That was my first thought when I saw him.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well,
Oh yeah.
we've officially almost reached the 2-hour point here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Any comments, any questions that you have for us, drop them in the comment section below. I'm not going to say like and subscribe. If you like what we do here, feel free to subscribe. Brando's Funkos and Hero Scroll and, well, I guess I'm Funko Lou on TikTok. But you can all find us online on social media. I don't know if we have the same names for Instagram. But check us out, though. We have some pretty cool stuff, content that we put up, knowledge that we like to deliver to a lot of people who come across our pages. You will see us again for what we have now decided is going to be Guardians and probably future projects after that. Get some sleep, recover from your Marvel fatigue. We'll be back, and we have some DC stuff coming up that I have not plugged in a while that exists. So we'll definitely talk about it. All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next video. Appreciate everyone watching.
Bye.
Bye.